What's good, my fellow astronauts? Today we're going to be looking at the system requirements for Starfield and asking that one question: are you going to be able to run it? Also, if you haven't heard already, Starfield is available to download on Xbox as we speak. So if you have Xbox Game Pass, get those preloads sorted for day one release, as it is a whopping 125 gigabytes. This goes for PC as well. With that cheeky PSA out of the way, let's jump straight into this. Looking at the minimum requirements, one thing sticks out like a sore thumb: the RAM. Long are the days of the old trusty 8 gig. Sort of makes sense why this isn't released on PlayStation. Well, we'll see how that one goes down. Another critical thing to be looking at is the additional notes. SSD is required. This part is very interesting because generally for minimum requirements for PC games, the SSD is just a recommended part. This is not to say that if you don't have an SSD, the game is not going to run, especially if you're using an HDD. But what I've seen from the massive draw distances and also the texture resolution, this is going to be key for a smooth running game, especially with all the information that it's going to be trying to keep up with. And not only that, you're going to need at least 125 gigs of SSD storage space for this game. As we look at the GPUs, you can see that you're going to need at least the RX 5700 or a 1070 Ti. Now, these aren't the most powerful graphics cards, but they are generally more powerful than the ones you see in most minimum requirements. It really makes me think if it's going to struggle to hit that 30 FPS. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Lastly, for the CPUs, we're looking at a Ryzen 5 2600X and a Core i7-6800K. As the same as the GPUs, these aren't the shiniest spoons in the drawer. There's not much to say about these CPUs, but for the fact they have 6 cores and 12 threads each, when paired with the 1070 Ti and also the RX 5700, you should be at least hitting that 30 FPS mark. Well, hopefully anyway. Now for the people that love a bit of smoothness, here are the recommended requirements. The only thing that we're going to be touching on here are the CPU and the GPU, as the rest are exactly the same as the min requirements. Yeah, I know. For recommended GPUs, we're looking at the RTX 2080 and the RX 6800 XT. And this is where things get relatively interesting, because when comparing these two GPUs side by side, the RX 6800 is outperforming the 2080 on every aspect. For example, if we take a look back at the 1070 Ti and the RX 5700, the power difference between these are marginal. It really does make me wonder. I guess they just turned on a bunch of computers and like, yep, that works, sweet, recommend them. My man. But I mean, if you wanted to be really safe, you can just dip into your life savings for these GPUs. For the CPUs, we have an i5 10600K and a Ryzen 5 3600X. And again, they both have 6 cores and 12 threads. They are quite similar in terms of performance, with Intel just nudging out in front by just a smidge. Again, this takes me back to the 30 FPS lock on console, because in games where we have seen this, it's made the CPU the powerhouse and underutilized the GPU, which causes a whole lot of issues trying to hit those frame rates, especially in high-end PCs, which was a bit of an issue with the Unreal 4 engine games. For a general overlook of the requirements, it's a big fat question mark. For instance, we don't even know what resolution these are for or if it includes ray tracing, especially when you're looking at the graphics cards and what CPUs are needed. Let me know down below your thoughts on this and what PC you'll be running for Starfield. Until the next one, buckle in boys, we're going to space.